Hey folks, I'm David Brear and welcome to FinTech Insider on Air, episode 54. Last week we came to you live from Rise by Barclays building over in New York last week, which was, it feels like a million years ago now, but that was super fun. I had a great time talking with Koki. It was really about the breaking news, everything that happened with Visa and Plaid, and I think actually that one just spiraled out of control in terms of the amount of information, the amount of news that was out there. If you want to catch that, head over to the 11FS YouTube channel. I think it's still lingering around on my Twitter as well, but make sure you catch up on that. If you missed Plaid and Visa last week, you're probably not into fintech, right? So before we get started today, I have some pretty awesome news. 11FS has been in the final for not one but two categories for the 2020 British Banking Awards. That's a pretty big way to start 2020, so I'm pretty happy about that, I have to say. Last year we took home the Consultancy of the Year, and we really want to take not only that one but the Pioneer Award as well. So if you head over to, it's a bit.ly link, so it's bit.ly, that's bit.ly/11FS 2020, and vote for us to win both the Consultancy of the Year Award and also the Pioneer Award. I'd very much appreciate it. All right, this week I'm joined by a friend and nowadays very frequent guest. You've been on a few times now of the show here at 11FS. We've got Amir and Nooriala. Nooriala. Oh,
yeah,
man, I'm so close.
Everyone calls me Amir. It's fine.
Amir, you've been. I'm used to saying Amir from very frequently,
yeah.
But some pretty big news that's sort of changed. So, do you want to give us a bit of an overview of the change over the last couple of weeks?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I used to work at a different tech firm in the UK, but I left late last year. I had the pleasure of spending a couple of months with my third daughter, who was just born.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I haven't got much sleep. I'm very tired. I've got bags on my eyes. But
new baby, new job. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm week 3 of my new role at another UK tech firm called Callsign. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer again, so very similar role, slightly different space. But yeah, very exciting for me.
Very cool. Before we sort of get into that side of things, then we'll talk about, obviously leaving Oak North and everything that you're doing at Callsign now.
Yeah.
But for everybody who's sort of watching, maybe give a bit of your background because,
Sure.
you've got a really interesting background, and for anybody who's sort of aspiring to really do interesting things in this market, your job is going to be one of the ones that they'll be wanting in maybe 5 to 10 years' time, right? So how have you got to where you've got?
Sure. I actually get asked quite often, how do I get your kind of role? I always tell them, don't ask me because I don't know how I ended up there either, right? But, so I'll talk more about just what I kind of, my background. So I'm quite old, I'm 41, I'll admit it. And so when I was finishing A-levels and looking for what to study at university, my brother was 8 years older than me. He was already in Silicon Valley, and he said, look, text away, do computer science. So I studied computer science, which at the time, no one wanted to go anywhere near. And my dad's American. I'm Iranian, but American-Iranian. And so I've got US passport. So when I graduated, it was the height of the dot-com boom, and I applied for jobs in the US, and I joined a tech firm called Cisco Systems. When you say that name now, everyone goes, oh, like the telephone or something. But at the time, they were the tech company in the world. They'd just overtaken GE, biggest market cap. So all these things about the the trillion-dollar tech companies we see now. Cisco got pretty close to that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I went over there, and immediately the dot-com bust happened. So I missed the good days. But if you can live through the bad days, you can survive very well in the good days. So I did 4 years of that, came back to London, did a couple of years of consulting, and then I moved into banking.
Yep.
I did over a decade at Barclays, where I ran various ops and tech departments, went to another financial services firm called PGC Partners. And then one day I got a call saying, would you like to join the biggest fintech in Europe? And I was like, sign me up, Monzo, Revolut, I'm in. And they were like, no, it's Oak North. And I hadn't heard of Oak North. Being an SME kind of B2B business, it has less brand awareness. But did my due diligence, saw it was real, met the founders, I was kind of wowed. Joined Oak North. I was originally the COO of the bank, so the SMF24, so I was responsible for ops tech, product, that kind of stuff. And then after a year, I was very honoured when Joel, one of the founders, said to me, can you take over the strategy role? And I was like, what is the strategy role? And he said to me, it's for you to figure out, right? You know how the bank works, you know how our fintech arm works, so we commercialize.
And if he had to tell you what the strategy was, it wasn't a strategy.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly, exactly. And it was just understand the market and figure out what we can do next, kind of thing. So I did that for a while, and while I was there, I was pitched by the founder of Callsign, their tech, and we got on really well, really well. We kept in touch, had lunch, dinner frequently, that kind of stuff, and then the opportunity came up to move over.
I mean, it's great. I mean, your background, just sort of touching a bit on your background.
Yeah.
Your background and my background, very similar.
Yeah.
I did computer science. Do you know what? Out of the back of my master's degree, I nearly joined Cisco on a grad scheme.
Yeah.
So like we could have been like
exactly.
like roommates or something.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
So it's interesting. But
Good thing we weren't there with the haircut.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, I can get you some of these glasses, and you're just sticking out the beard a little.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I mean, how did you find those different sides of the fence? Because obviously, working in a bank, certain pace, working in a consultancy, certain pace, and different sort of views of the industry. I found that fascinating. But I mean, did you find that because it gives you quite a unique perspective, right?
Yeah. Look, I mean, the biggest contrast for me is whether you're at a hardware software firm or a consultancy, your revenue. So even though you're a tech person, you are generating revenue for that company. So you are treated like revenue. In a bank, if you're ops and tech, less so nowadays with the way digitization has happened, but in the older days, being an old man,
you're only 41.
I'm only 41. I know, but I've got 3 kids. My back hurts. I pulled my neck. Anyway, you're a cost, and you were treated like a cost. It was very, very different. It wasn't necessarily about innovation or strategy. Again, it's different now. The last 3 years, we've seen a massive transformation. I think you guys have kind of helped with that as well. But it was very much about how cost efficient you are, and can you consolidate the number of systems, or can you figure out a way that we need less operational people, that kind of stuff. So that was the biggest contrast for me. But what I found actually is having a varied background is the most useful, because you understand how banks make decisions, and therefore how to come up with mutually beneficial solutions that they're more willing to deploy. And you also know how people who generate revenue operate as well. So having that variety, I think for me, career-wise, has been really, really helpful.
That's
I don't know what you think about that.
I mean, very similar, yeah. I mean, being able to, I always say is like, especially, any advice for anybody who's starting out from a career perspective is being in a situation where you can create a unique perspective. I mean, the thing that I always kind of found, I mean, coming out of university, the reason I went and did an MSc is I came out of my undergrad with a 2-1 in computing, and realised that I hadn't actually tried, but there was then 10,000 people with the same degree, with the same qualifications, equally unique as I prided myself on being. So really that was why I kind of went and did more things, and I sort of saw my career similar to you as like actually a bit of a voyage around financial services to try and see as many different angles of the problem. But I mean, Oak North are absolutely killing it, right? Rishi and the team there are doing a great job. I mean, so opportunity never sort of goes away though, does it? I think that's the interesting thing. I mean, we're seeing more and more people, and fintech is a small community, I'd say, in London, but more and more people sort of moving around. We've seen Simon van Scalina leave Monzo recently and go do Fronted. We're seeing people like yourself move from one big company to another big company. What was it, I guess, from Callsign's perspective that was particularly appealing to come and join?
Sure. So when I was doing the strategy role at Oak North, I was kind of one of the public faces of the company. As such, I had to really immerse myself in the fintech community and see what's out there. And it was a great opportunity to see trends developing, whether they were trends where I could actually see something commercial becoming possible, or problems that weren't being solved. But Oak North is incredibly disciplined at focusing on what they're really good at, which is lending. So the opportunity wasn't there to explore all the different avenues that were kind of piquing my interest. So I spoke to the founders, Rish and Joel, who've been incredibly supportive, and they were just like, we get it. If that's the kind of path you want to do, then find the right thing and we'll work it out. We'll time it with the baby and we'll support you with it. And they were my reference for Callsign. And so no, it was more about, I was on a rocket ship. I completely got that it was a rocket ship, but the topic wasn't one that I wanted to kind of focus on solely, and I wanted to explore other things. And it was a case of, twist or stick, and I decided to twist.
Yeah, I'm generally a twist guy myself. This is getting weird now, so we should go out for a beer.
Oh, no, afterwards, yeah.
But it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because like you say, it's I mean, everybody works so hard. I mean, you've worked so hard with Oak North, and they're having so much success. But like you say, the thing that you get out of bed every day for, if there's something that you're inquisitive about, or actually I've always said it's like, if you're not if you've not got a slight fear about the thing that you're doing,
Yeah.
you're probably not learning, and
Correct.
you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough.
Correct.
So if you can find that with what you're doing now with Callsign, that's awesome. So maybe tell us a little bit more about. I mean, you've probably been given the pitch for them through the process and everything that's there. But tell us a little bit more about Callsign, and then tell us a bit more specifically about what the role you're going to be doing.
Sure. So I mean, when I start, before I talk Callsign, just talk. Callsign's a specialist in how you manage digital identity. So I'll start with that as a topic, but I think there's going to be a massive amount of focus on that. And if you mentioned Visa and the kind of the planned acquisition, it's very much about companies looking at what's happening with digital identity and the disruption that's going to cause to traditional rails. So one of the things actually at Oaknorth that I studied a lot was what happened in the 90s when kind of that experienced local bank manager disappeared. And we studied it from the perspective of local lending decisions stopped, and therefore SME lending dried up. And so I kind of was looking at that aspect. And the other thing the local bank manager would do is they knew who you were. So they knew your identity.
Yeah.
So you could just walk in without any ID or whatever else, and they go, yep, that's Jim from around the corner who works on the farm. Let him take his money out. Then when that bank manager got replaced with more of a kind of a graduate with checklist and central computers, we did the whole kind of face check and passport or driver's license, right? And then you transfer that to digital, and we're doing, on Fido, Jumio, they're doing some really cool stuff there. But do they really know you are who you are? And then once you've actually been authenticated and created, do they know it's you or not?
Yeah.
And it's very easy to fake a picture and compared to an ID type thing. So that I don't think digital identity has caught up to the same level of trust as physical, and everything else in a bank has, in my opinion, already caught and probably exceeded.
Sure.
So I think it's one of the last frontiers now that digitally can be disrupted. Yeah. And so then if you then apply that to what does a bank do, right? You probably speak to CEOs of banks every day about this kind of topic, but generally there's kind of 4 phases a bank has for a customer, right? You've got onboarding, where you do the KYC AML type element.
Yep.
You've got transacting, where you're kind of sending, receiving money, or adding new beneficiaries, that kind of stuff. You've got servicing, where you're signing up for new financial products, and then offboarding, when you either don't want a bank or unfortunately you've kind of deceased. All of those different events, all of them have different risk weightings to them.
Yep.
And so they need some sort of authentication of your digital identity. And there aren't any great solutions out there currently, or I wasn't aware of them until I heard a Callsign of how you actually manage that. So what you do is you kind of brute force implement a solution that applies to everyone. So everyone has to get an SMS, 2-factor authentication, one-time password, or 3DS, ACS type, whatever it is, but it applies to everyone. So as a result, what happens is you either get banks who are very secure and have low-ish fraud levels, but it's a clunky journey, or you've got fintechs who've got really slick journeys, but they're underserving a lot of the market because they can't find the credit ratings for them, or haven't lived in that address for a long time, or whatever else. So what Callsign have come up with, first of all, is an overarching way of managing a user journey and all the different forks, so it's adaptive. So depending on where you are, or if your browser's different, or you aren't using your Mac, you're using a PC you've borrowed from someone else, you can real-time add additional authentication and transparently explain to the user why this is happening. This is to protect you, that kind of thing. And that leads to a number of different things. A better user journey, better NPS scores, people are happier with their bank, lower OPEX cost. There's people aren't calling up the call center saying, hey, I did this payment last week, this time I'm being asked to do extra checks. So throw in PSD2, throw in strong customer authentication, where this kind of extra check's going to be mandatory. There's going to be a lot of noise caused. So I think the market is dying for a solution. And so when I was pitched Callsign, I saw what it was, and I was like, this is great. Have you guys got any referenceable clients? What kind of traction you got in the market? And at the time, they had one big client, but they couldn't talk about it, and that was released last year. So Lloyds Bank have now got enterprise-wide with Callsign. And I was like, right, I think this is the kind of timing where we can then try to get the message out and let everyone else be aware of it. But it's one of those things that when people see what's possible, they're going to sign up for it. We just need to raise awareness of the product.
I mean, it's interesting. It's sort of fundamentally predicated on great data underlying that. But actually, to your point, when the advent of internet banking, many organizations treated security like it was something to keep customers out rather than actually increase the experience. So, you saw HSBC make it almost impossible for me to get into my sort of retail bank account without remembering 15 different handshakes and a secure PIN thing. But it is interesting. I mean, fraud and security are essentially business decisions in terms. And Lloyd's actually have been pretty progressive on those things a lot. I know Zach Meehan over there from a transformation team have always been very progressive over security is our problem, not the consumer's problem, and we don't want to make the consumers have to jump through all of the hoops because that's a thing that we should be thinking about.
Exactly right.
And to your point, the more you can use data smartly to understand the context of consumers. I mean, I know back when I was at Lloyds Banking Group, they implemented the device recognition in a major way to allow us to reduce those things in a place that actually meant it was more on the bank than it was on the consumer. But this is a major step forward.
Yeah, it's a big step forward. And also the biggest difference is it's saying we can prove you are who you are, while the current fraud detection is all about we don't think you're the right person, but we can't prove it's you, but we don't think it's you, or we think this is a fraudulent type transaction. Well, what Callsign is saying is we can prove it's you, and it's irrelevant of what device, what location. And also there's been an EBA paper out on this and saying technologies like swiping, where you look at the physical characteristics of the weight of your finger and the speed and the cadence of how you swipe that pattern, is actually more secure than a username and password that can be hacked or bought on the dark web quite easily. And from a user journey, it's just so much slicker and nicer to not have to memorize, for this bank, they need 8 characters and a symbol and a capital and whatever else, when actually it's just your symbol.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because obviously from an identity perspective, it has so many different use cases as well, right? This is not just a, mass market mainstream thing, but I mean, increasingly, I mean, I think even recently I was asked to go to a branch to prove my identity for a thing, and I'm like, I think you're probably telling the wrong person that one. It's like, this is going to appear on Twitter soon.
Exactly.
But it's like, this is a thing that actually not just mainstream people who live in a digital world, but for people like from an unbanked perspective, not just here, but kind of globally. But like proving your identity is a really major problem internationally, isn't it?
Massively. I mean, if you think about the unbanked, the reason why they are unbanked is because the financial circumstances preclude them from having a fixed location or even a fixed device. So they might be going to various local libraries to get on the internet. That means they're just going to get every red flag possible, right? But if they were to actually able to go into a bank and physically authenticate themselves and get a profile created, having a kind of an intelligent adaptive identification tech would basically say, look, we're going to inflict 3 or 4-factor authentication on you because you're on yet another new library computer and a new browser and whatever else. But if you can pass the facial recognition and get the one-time password and type it and all the rest of it, you can carry on. And I think the people who are underserved, they'd be happy with that, but at least it gives them access to banking. And they acknowledge the fact that it's for their own benefit, it's being done with extra layers. So this is where actually thinking about digital identity or fraud is an opportunity to provide banking to the underserved.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been one of those things that I know a lot of people have talked about for a while, where it's arguably the banks have been a custodian of like holding something secure. You know, it used to be gold and like money in the vault, but you know, arguably from an identity perspective, this is an opportunity for big banks to provide that type of service as well, right? Because they've sort of got the trust, and if they had the technology, then there's an opportunity, right?
Hugely. And I'll reference back to kind of Visa and Plaid and what they've done in the US and what people are doing with open banking over here. If you've got a really kind of secure and trusted way of managing a digital identity, and with open banking, you've got ways to do payment initiation. Is there a play there for banks to cut out some of the existing rails and start servicing merchants and saying, just do payments directly from your customer accounts to your merchant bank account? You know, there's lots of things you can play there, but open banking doesn't work in itself if you don't have a way of managing their digital identity. In fact, what open banking does is it implements a really unsecure digital channel, where there's far less fraud control and identity control. So once you've got that layer on top of it, I think that's when we're going to see the massive power of open banking. And if you look at Australia, it's not even open banking, right? It's open kind of open data or whatever they're calling it. So you can apply it to all of your different things, and not just spending activities. It could be your medical records, right? And how you transfer your X-ray from one county in your country to the next county, or your benefits payments, pension, HMRC. There's so many different things that should be treated the same way as doing a financial transaction. And just if we can just come up with a solution that everyone adopts, it can work.
I think that's a really interesting point. So many people have been focusing on this purely within financial services, but the remit is huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Literally proving your identity in elements, proving your age, proving everything. There's so many things where it's like the idea of just carrying around a physical passport or a driver's license as a proof of something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't really validate, and actually that mix between the physical and the digital world as well. So having a digital identity to prove your identity in the physical world is a really interesting concept that I'm sure you guys will be getting to at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could get to that way where you're in the shop and you want to buy something and actually your app says swipe in your app and then the payment will go through. Absolutely. I can see in a few years that will definitely happen. And other applications, think about the kind of subscription services like Netflix or Spotify or whatever else you use at home. They've got opportunities to stop account sharing. And I might say actually they don't want to do that because then they're going to lose a load of people if everyone shares their accounts, right? But it could stop ways of people inserting tracks in playlists in Spotify that they've seized control of to, not illegally kind of generate revenue there. There's lots of different applications for it. I think you just need to start proving that it works, and then everyone's going to jump on the back of it.
All right, I'm sold. I see why you're excited about the industry.
Let's
great.
do it, right.
So that's awesome. So what are you going to be doing then? So the job titles are always like
thing,
but what's the thing that you're going to kind of jump
I do
into?
like a job title. It doesn't mean anything. It means you can do whatever you want, and no one's saying why you're doing that. So look, we've got two excellent founders at Callsign, but like any founder that's started that company, kind of bootstrap and scaled it up, it's about just how do we get them away from the weeds and being able to actually run their business. And so I'm just there to kind of help the founders out, whatever it is. If it's go-to-market strategy, sales structure, partnerships, PR and raising awareness, it's more to just help them scale.
Great.
And that was something I was very keen on when I was at Oaknorth. Rishi and Joel are serial founders, and I was adding. I'm very proud of the value I had and what I delivered, but I was learning a lot.
Sure.
Well, it was kind of like a condensed MBA for me, to be honest with you. Watching those guys,
I'm sure those guys would be really flattered with that as well. So.
No, but honestly, it's true. While here, the founders, it's kind of the first time around. And they acknowledge that, and they want people to help who've been through that journey.
Sure.
And so it's kind of bringing the experience and what I went through there, and helping them go through it.
That's awesome.
As well.
I mean, early stage of startups as well. It's always very much like all hands to pumps. It's wherever the requirement is, isn't it? But there's something sort of beautifully exciting by that as well, isn't there? Yeah.
Very much so.
I mean, it's a really, really interesting space as well. There's so much opportunity there. Yeah. I mean, what's the aspiration with Callsign then? Because obviously, I mean, it feels like there's a huge potential. This is at 11FS, we talk a lot about the fabric of financial services changing.
Yeah.
This is one of those fabric points where it's like the fundamental identity of the general public is really up for grabs for shaping how it works, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is just to be the solution that every bank uses. And then beyond that, it's to every kind of next relevant industry that it applies to. What we found so far, and again, I've only been there 3 weeks, but I have met probably 15 banks already. We've never had a bad conversation. It's more about just raising awareness because it was a startup. It's now a scale up. It hasn't been frivolent with its money. It's very kind of dear to my heart in the way they operate. It's very much, and I think yours as well in terms of how you run 11FS, it's geared around being cash flow positive, right? Sure. It's a revenue generating business from day one. And so,
I mean, Oaknorth also, right? It's,
exactly.
I mean, it's work for companies. A business isn't a business until it's cash flow positive.
Exactly. And as such, there hasn't been huge marketing campaigns or anything else. It's been about just trying to get in front of the relevant stakeholders and just explaining to them what the product can do. And so now that we've got referenceable clients, and we hopefully have quite a few of them more that we'll announce throughout this year, it's just getting that uniform adoption of the technology. And the other thing is, when lots of banks are using the same solution for digital identity, it could make porting of identity a lot easier as well. So there is a reason why people would want the same solution.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, standards are always created by what people adopt.
Exactly.
And actually, at that point, the network effect that you can kind of get from that would be really, really significant.
And again, I reference Plaid in the US.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, the other thing that, you've been up to FinTech North London.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So that started as something that it hasn't ended up as. Basically, I got a little bit frustrated. I was always getting on the Central Line and coming over here to kind of Shoreditch and Liverpool Street and having meetings with all of you guys. And I live in North London. I was born in North London, and I was like, it'd be good to meet some people in the industry who actually live near me. And I mentioned that to a few people. We found a few more of them, and we had a gathering, and we kind of wrote about it on LinkedIn. And the next day, I had about 5 or 6 people contact me, founders of fintechs, and saying, I live in the area, why was I not invited? So we kind of expanded it and had another session, and I think 15 people then contacted. And so now we've got a group of around 20 founders, C-level execs like myself, or VCs who back fintechs.
Yeah.
And it's a private group. It's an ability to just discuss without worrying about who's listening, sharing with people who are going through similar problems, whether it's I want to build an offshore center, I want to go to market strategy for the US, I need a new COO, whatever it is. It's an opportunity to talk with people who understand the situation. And then we decided, actually, we've got lots of great brain power here. We've seen what's happened in the US, where you've got like the PayPal founders have gone and mentored a load of other people and spread an industry. We want to do
PayPal mafia, right?
Exactly. And so we want to do a similar thing as well. So we've started opening up and having proper, early stage startup founders come and just pitch their businesses to us, get some advice, mentorship, and actually we've started seed funding them as well. We've got a session tomorrow. Actually, we've got 2 more pitching to us. So it's just an opportunity for that. One thing you can actually help me a lot with is we would like to improve the diversity of the group.
Sure.
I think it's slightly reflective of the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
But if there is anyone who's interested and does meet that very limited criteria of North London, fintech, scale up, C-level, exec founder, whatever, or is nearly there, please reach out, and we'd love to have you guys on board.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Our views on community, right?
Yeah.
The more you can do to pull people together who have got shared views on stuff, it's beneficial for you, it's beneficial for them.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're doing it in a way that sort of really gives back to the community as well, that's awesome. So get in touch about that. That would be a really great thing to come. I'd love to come along to one as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, I live near here, though, so like getting out to North London is going to be like a trouble for me. Tell you what, I'll do the commute because you can't be
there. You go, 20-minute journey.
All right, on that note, thank you so much for coming in.
No,
it's
my
really,
pleasure.
really interesting to hear about the new job. You'll have to come back in a couple of months' time and tell us how it's
Talk
going.
about success, yeah.
Sounds
absolutely.
good.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No worries. Where can people find out a little bit more about you? And now, obviously, Callsign now as well.
Yeah, so Callsign, obviously, the website has all the information. We've got lots of white papers, a lot of thought leadership there. In terms of myself, I am a massive LinkedIn person. Although I have been told I need to get on Twitter. So I actually created my Twitter account 2 days ago.
Okay.
Wow.
Let's see if we can get you some followers.
So LinkedIn or Twitter, yeah.
Sounds good. As for me, I'm over on @DavidBrear on Twitter. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you want more insights like this, head over to FinTech Insider Podcast. You can find it on pretty much every place you can find podcasts at this stage. Also, we've relaunched the newsletter, so be sure to sign up over on 11fs.com/newsletter. It's like a snack-sized 5-minute view, so it'll be nice and easy for you to get every week, don't worry. If you want a topic discussed on air, well, just hit us up over on podcasts@11fs.com, or you can find us on Twitter or @FinTech Insiders. See you guys next week. Bye. That was awesome.